There is an old story I want to tell you. Older than any book, older than any road, older even than the names that we give ourselves. It begins with a traveler. Now, some call him the fool, but do not mistake that for stupidity. No, no. The fool is not foolish because he knows nothing. He is called foolish because he is brave enough to begin before he knows everything. And that is how every soul starts. He stood at the edge of a great cliff with the whole wide world stretched out before him. The sun was bright on his face. A small bundle rested over his shoulder, carrying only what he needed, though he did not know yet what that was. At his feet, a little white dog danced and barked, warning him or encouraging him, perhaps both. The fool did not have a map. He did not have a plan. He only had a feeling, a tug in the chest, a whisper in the bones, a knowing that life was calling him beyond the place he had always known. And so, with one foot lifted over the edge of everything familiar, he began. The first person he met was the magician. The magician stood before a table laid with strange and shining tools, a cup, a sword, a wand, and a coin. Above him, one hand pointed toward the heavens, while the other pointed toward the earth. "Look here," said the magician. "You have more power than you realize. What is above you can move through you. What is within you can become something real." The fool looked at the tools and wondered if they belonged to the magician. The magician only smiled. "They are yours too," he said, "but you must learn how to use them." And so the fool learned that life was not only something that happened to him, it was something he could shape with focus, choice, and will. Further down the road, he came upon the high priestess. She sat in quiet mystery between two pillars, veiled in moonlight, holding a book that seemed to be written in silence. She did not rush to greet him. She did not explain herself. She simply watched. The fool, still young in his journey, asked her many questions. "Where should I go? What should I do? How will I know what is true?" The high priestess placed one finger to her lips. "Hush now," she whispered. "Not every answer comes from the world outside you. Some answers rise slowly from the deep." So the fool sat with her for a while. At first, the silence made him restless. Then, little by little, he began to hear things beneath the noise of his own wanting. He heard intuition. He heard dreams. He heard the old river of knowing that runs through every soul. And when he rose to continue, he carried with him a new kind of wisdom, the kind that cannot always be proven, but can still be deeply known. Then came the Empress. The Empress was warmth itself. She sat in a garden bursting with life. Wheat swayed at her feet. Flowers leaned toward her. The trees seemed to breathe easier in her presence. She did not teach through riddles or commands. She taught through nourishment. "Rest," she told the fool. "Eat, breathe, look around you, find comfort. Creation is not always a struggle." The fool had thought growing meant reaching, chasing, becoming. But the Empress showed him that growth also came from softness, from care, from beauty, from being held. She taught him that the world was not only a place to conquer, it was a place to belong to. But no journey can stay forever in the garden. Soon the fool met the emperor. He sat upon a stone throne, steady as a mountain, his gaze firm but not unkind. Around him, the world had shape and order. Boundaries stood where chaos once spilled over. Love gives life, said the emperor, but structure protects it. The fool frowned at this, for he did not yet understand why freedom needed walls. The emperor leaned forward. A river without banks becomes a flood. A fire without a hearth becomes destruction. Even the wildest spirit must learn where to place its strength. And so the fool learned discipline. He learned responsibility. He learned that power was not only movement, but instability. Then came the Hierophant, keeper of teachings, traditions, and sacred ways. He stood in the temple filled with echoes of all who had come before. The fool listened as prayers, stories, rituals, and old laws filled the room like incense smoke. The Hierophant said, "You are not the first to walk this path. Others have searched before you. Others have suffered, questioned, loved, failed, and found meaning. Learn from them." The fool listened. Some teachings felt like keys, others felt like cages. And that was the part of the lesson too. For the Hierophant did not only teach him to follow tradition, he taught him to ask which traditions carried wisdom and which ones had forgotten their own soul. And then, as all young travelers must, the fool came to the lovers. But this was not only a story of romance, no matter what the songs may tell you. The lovers stood before him as a choice between fear and truth, between pleasing others and honoring the soul, between the easy path and the honest one. The fool felt his heart tremble. For the first time he understood that love was not just a feeling that arrived like spring rain. Love was a mirror. Love asked him who he truly was. Love asked him what he valued enough to choose. And once the choice is made from the heart, the road changes. Next, the fool climbed into the chariot. The horses pulled in different directions, one toward desire, one toward doubt. The road was rough, the wheels unsteady, and the world rushed around him. But the fool took the reins. He could not control everything, no one can, but he could learn to guide himself. The chariot taught him determination. It taught him to gather his scattered will and move with purpose, not because the way was easy, but because his spirit had decided to go forward. Then one day the fool met strength. He expected a warrior, someone fierce, someone with a sword raised high. But strength was a gentle woman with her hand resting softly on the mouth of a lion. The fool stared in wonder. "How do you command such a beast?" he asked. Strength smiled. "I do not command him. I know him." And there it was. The fool began to understand that true strength was not always loud. It did not always push, force, or defeat. Sometimes strength was patient. It was compassion. It was looking at the wild thing inside of yourself and choosing not to hate it. Then, further still, the fool came upon the hermit. He stood alone on a mountain path, holding a lantern against the dark. By then, the fool had seen much of the world, but there were questions that no teacher, lover, ruler, or temple could answer for him. The hermit lifted his lantern. "There comes a time," he said, "when you must step away from the noise and listen for your own light." The fool followed him into solitude. It was lonely at first, but loneliness, when treated gently, can become a doorway. In the quiet, the fool met himself more honestly than he had ever before had. And when he returned from the mountain, he did not have every answer, but he had a light of his own. Then the great wheel turned. The wheel of fortune rose before him, vast and turning, carrying kings and beggars, beginnings and endings, losses and blessings. The fool tried to hold it still, but no hand could stop the turning of life. "What is this?" he cried. The wheel answered without words. "Seasons change, fortune rises and falls. What is yours today may be gone tomorrow. What is lost may return in another form." The fool learned that life moves in cycles. He learned that control is not the same as wisdom. He learned that sometimes the soul grows not by choosing the road, but by learning how to meet the road that appears. And so his journey continued. Through justice, he would learn truth, honesty, accountability, and consequence. Through the hanged man, he would learn to surrender. Through death, he would learn that endings are not always punishments, but sacred doors. Through temperance, he would learn moderation and inner peace, while still expanding and searching for meaning. Through the devil, he would face the chains he had mistaken for comfort. Through the tower, he would watch false things fall. Through the star, he would be reminded of hope. Through the moon, he would walk through the shadow, intuition and illusion, understanding that some things are not seen and some things are not to be seen. Through the sun, he would feel joy return to his bones. Through judgment, he would hear the call to rise and to seek that elevation through honest assessment and true lessons learned. And finally, through the world, he would understand and feel complete. The fool had not been wandering aimlessly after all. Every meeting, every choice, every heartbreak, every lesson, every fall, and every rising had been shaping him. The journey had not taken him away from itself, it brought him home. But here is the real secret. When the fool reached the world, the story did not end. For life is a circle and not a straight road. Again and again, we stand at the edge of the unknown. Again and again, we are asked to begin. Older perhaps, wiser we hope, but still carrying that same little bundle, still hearing that same call. And every time we answer it, the fool walks again. So, when you feel uncertain, when the path ahead looks wide and wild, when you do not know whether you are ready, remember this. No one ever begins with the whole journey in their hands. The soul begins with one step, and sometimes that is enough.